Good morning and thank you for joining me. My name is Christopher Sharalambus, and today I'll be talking to you about what I truly believe is important when it comes to teaching A-level law in further and adult education, particularly here in London. As someone with both legal and frontline experience, I've seen firsthand how powerful legal education can be, not only just in the classroom, but in changing lives. This presentation is all about how we as legal educators can empower learners to understand, question, and navigate the world around them through the lens of the law. In this presentation, I will be exploring what I believe is truly important in teaching our adult and further education students in the A-level law. As I would state and premise at the beginning of this presentation, for me, teaching law in further education, as I would establish, especially in London, is far more about the textbooks or exams. Law is something our adult learners live in their everyday life, from stop and search powers they may encounter, to tenancy disputes, from social media to employment rights. That these seemingly mundane scenarios are deeply intertwined with the law. I will demonstrate for our success criteria why teaching law in context is so important. It gives learners the tools to challenge injustice, to advocate for themselves, and to understand the very systems that shape their lives. I will touch upon the idea that many adult learners will come to London with rich life experiences and a strong desire to grow and give that would enable them to give them a framework to make sense of the very world around them and take ownership of their choices. Finally, I will share my own values and approaches as a future law educator on why I believe law should not just be taught as information, but as a tool for real life understanding and confidence. Now imagine this. Somebody's walking through their local Tesco supermarket, maybe after work and with their children, and suddenly they slip on a wet floor that hasn't been clearly signposted, and they break their leg, fall, and suddenly their life is on pause. And what they have taken for ordinary life, such as walking up and down the stairs, going out to work, taking a bus, going out for a coffee, in that moment in time has suddenly become halted. They're unable to do those such things with ease. And most people wouldn't think of it this way, but in this moment in time, the law, has now interconnected with our reality, okay? And it's become now a legal scenario. And what do I mean by a legal scenario? Well, the rules governing negligence, for example, have now stepped forth. So when I enter into a supermarket, I, as a consumer, I expect that there is a level of care, level of duty of care that I expect to make sure that I'm reasonably safe. The supermarket's failure to put a clear warning sign imposes what we call the Occupiers Liability Act. That I, as the consumer, when I enter into that property, should be taken that I am reasonably safe for the purposes that I'm on there, shopping, and that I do not expect to be hurt or endangered. So here, this is where the law quietly steps in, not just in courtrooms, but interconnects with our everyday living lives. The supermarket example is more than just an accident. It shows how the law is interconnected. For example, I have an image of a Costa Coffee. When you go into a Costa Coffee, you enter into a contractual agreement for a coffee in exchange for monetary payment. When you go and see your GP, for example, there are laws such as the one that I gave you for in the supermarket of the law of negligence, that the doctor is to take reasonable care and diligence to make sure that they provide adequate, safe health advice and information. And lastly, you can see there the Road Traffic Act. When you're driving your car, the Road Traffic Act governs how fast you can go and the laws and restrictions that are imposed as you as a road user. It shows, moreover, that the law exists in spaces we take for granted unbeknowingly. Teaching law in further and adult education means giving learners the ability to recognize these moments for what they are. They're a part of a system that governs their rights, responsibilities, and protection. Law becomes more than abstract rules, it becomes relevant, and that relevance is a powerful tool for engagement and understanding. In London, this relevance is even more important. We live in a diverse, multicultural city where learners bring different life experiences, cultures, and questions into the classroom. Many are navigating legal systems for the very first time around immigration, for example, employment, housing benefits. Teaching law here isn't just about information, it's about demystifying power, fostering confidence, and equipping learners to navigate life in this complex, vibrant city. Here is a picture of my adult learners here where I taught across a year to students who didn't learn English. And in this instance, I really understood that adults learn best when they can relate new knowledge to what they already know. They don't want to hear what the law says. They want to understand how it affects them, their families, and their everyday choices. By grounding legal ideas in lived experiences, we create spaces for deeper learning and meaningful discussions. What matters most to me is making the law real, not just case studies, but case stories. I want learners to see how law connects to them in their homes, their workplaces, their communities. I don't want to teach the rules. I want to teach learners how to ask questions, to think critically, and to understand how the law works for them or against them. That's the kind of learning that sticks. I design lessons that are interactive and rooted in real life scenarios because adult learners bring so much with them. Case studies become case conversations, and I encourage learners to connect their legal ideas with their own experiences to ask, what would I do? Or has this happened to me? This kind of personal engagement leads to real empowerment that I dare to foster. And finally, this is a picture of my adult learners when I taught ESOL at Education First. And what this year experience taught me was that teaching adult learners isn't just about filling gaps. It's about recognizing the strengths they already have and adding tools they can use in their everyday life. And law is one of those tools. When learners can connect legal knowledge to real life, their confidence grows, as I had seen with students who were able to grasp complex grammar and sentence structures, and their ability to flourish as independent, self supported learners. And so, what I was able to understand when I saw this was that their capacity to support themselves and others becomes more equipped when we equip individuals with the correct skills and tools to do so. And that's the reason why I want to teach law. I want to use the law as a tool to equip those students to become self sufficient, independent, critical thinkers of tomorrow. Thank you.